70% of Syrians live in poverty. Is that figure correct?
Yes, and even more, because salaries, now we're the poorest country in the world. The salaries are between $10 and $20.
But are you prepared to go back now?
Of course I want to go back. It's my country. I love my country. My father was promoting democracy and freedom in Syria, and he was attacked for all those things.
What happens now? I mean, are we in for a period of chaos?
I think it's going to be chaos unless the West start to see the game that's being played here.
Hello, my name is Justin Stairs and this is the Brussels Signal Studio. We're here to talk about Syria and the fast-moving chaos. Who knows what's happening in Syria with Ribal Al-Assad. Now, Ribal Al-Assad is the cousin of the deposed dictator Bashar Al-Assad. He is also the founder and director of the Organization for Democracy and Freedom in Syria. Many thanks for coming to the studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'd like to start with one or two questions on yourself, please, because I know that you are the cousin of the deposed dictator. Is that therefore that means that your parents were brother or sister to the, how does it work?
He's my first cousin, and his father was a president and my father was vice president.
Okay, but you've lived most of your life outside of Syria, correct?
Yes, I was exiled when I was 9-year-old with my family when we went to France.
And why were you exiled? What happened?
Because there was my father was promoting democracy and freedom in Syria and the Middle East. He was the first person in the Middle East to have set up the Al-Fursan magazine in 1967, promoting those values, promoting equality of men and women. He was also, he was the first person in the Middle East to introduce women into the military. We had at the time over 6,000 paratroopers who were women, and they were trained on all kind of, not just like medical, and in many countries that they were really like, and my mother was one of them. My two sisters took part of this program. He also started the Association for Highly Educated People, which had 30,000 people, because my father used to think that you cannot have a country move towards the future if you don't count on your smart, the people who are educated. If all educated people in Syria went to abroad and never came back because you're not giving them the opportunity, you're not giving them a place where they could have dialogue, where they could like a platform where they could discuss things and write articles and talk about how things should move forward independently from the Ba'ath Party, the ruling Ba'ath Party, and he was attacked for all those things. He was head of higher education too, and he built the Latakia University. He built the Homs University. He enlarged the Aleppo University. Again, because he thought that education was crucial. And after he left in 1984, all those programs were stopped. There was no new universities being built. There were no, the new magazines talking about, even his magazine was shut after he left, talking about democracy and the need of democracy in our country. There was no more, the people trying to promote the rights of women in the country. We started having Islamization of society. We used to have only 20% of the women who used to wear the veil in Syria, after my father left, the last years of my uncles in the late 90s, there were 80% of women wearing the veil in Syria.
But are you prepared to go back now?
Of course I want to go back. It's my country. I love my country. It's a bit difficult now. We must first see because those people who are coming in now, those people who moved from under the orders of Turkey, they are Islamist extremist group. The HTS is led by Al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria, and Al-Jolani was a member of ISIS, and then he became the head of so could you trust a guy like this? We've seen videos of them during the past 13 years cutting people's heads off for being Shias or for being Christians or for being Alawites or for being anything that was different from their perverted ideology. Even now when they were attacking, when they were coming into they were were killing soldiers and calling their families, taking their phones and calling their families, saying, "Oh, is this the phone? Are you the family of this person?" And they would say yes. And he said, "Well, just like to let you know that we just got off your son or your brother's heads off, and we're coming for you."
Now you're referring to the HTS, which
Yes.
is Hayat Tahrir al-Sham,
yes.
right? Now they're in charge now.
Yes, they're in charge because for some reason before they moved into Idlib, Bashar was in Moscow, and I believe that he was told by Moscow that this is your time, you're leaving, you go back, you do nothing, you give up you give everything up and you leave. And this would happen because, during the heights of the conflicts in Syria, the Syrian army never left Aleppo. The Syrian army always controlled a big part of Aleppo, and they were fighting in every corner in Syria. So why did the Syrian army did not try to stop those people coming in? Why did the Syrian army withdraw from Aleppo without fighting?
What's the answer?
Exactly. Why did the soldiers themselves and officers don't know why? They were ordered not to attack. They were ordered not to defend themselves. They were ordered to withdraw. And again in Hama, they thought that, okay, it's maybe a strategic move. Maybe we go back to Hama, we defend from Hama. Then they were told, no, you don't do anything. You go back, withdraw, and go back to Homs. Then they go back to Homs.
So what's happened?
That's what I think. I think there was a decision. I think the Russians, the Iranians, and the Turks got into, they agreed that he should go. And as you know, he gave them all the power in the country. He was relying on them. There's nothing else he could do. The thing is, during the war with, on Gaza and Lebanon, Bashar stood away. He didn't want to be part of that. First he didn't have any more the capabilities because the army has been exhausted for the past 13 years. So he's definitely not. He didn't think that he's able even to you remember
right,
before 2011, there was WikiLeaks documents saying that the Iranians had asked the regime had asked my cousin, if we go to war with Israel, would you go with us? He said, no, please. And at that time the army was much stronger than now. He said, no, please don't. I can't. He said, I'm not able. So could you imagine now after 13 years? He of course didn't want to.
But what you've just said is you think there was an agreement between Russia and Iran. Basically, your time is up.
And Turkey.
And Turkey.
Why? Because again, Turkey for the past few years, Russia has been trying to mediate between Erdogan and Bashar. Erdogan wants those 3.5 million refugees to go back to Syria, and he also wants to make sure that the new Middle East that has that many believe that there's a plan for Greater Kurdistan region, and Greater Kurdistan will take the majority of its land from Turkey,
right,
where 20 million Kurds live,
right,
and the other part will be Iran. In Iraq, they already have this. Actually,
so Turkey's interest is a Kurdish issue, basically.
Yeah, they want to make sure that this Greater Kurdistan project is finished.
But what's in Russia? What's Russia? Why would Russia suddenly drop?
Because Russia has been trying to explain to Bashar that yes, you are our ally. Yes, we are, we came here to help you. Yes, it's good. We have, but in Syria, they will always be cornered in Latakia because we supported you. So all the other regions will look at us in the future that we supported you bombing them, and killing them. So we'll be, as I said, we'll be only able to stay in the Latakia and Tartus, in the base, in the naval base and the airport. Yeah. But Erdogan is a much bigger prize. He's a much bigger, a very important ally to us because he's the second largest army in NATO.
So they dropped. Oh, I get it. So they dropped Al-Assad in favor of Erdogan.
Of course, because they've been trying to push him. They would have preferred to keep both. But Bashar didn't accept. Every time they're like, you have to sit with Erdogan. Please sit with Erdogan.
Okay.
You need to help Erdogan. If you remember, there were the elections. They were trying to make it before the elections. So Bashar's thinking was like, okay, if Erdogan, why should I make it before the elections and have Erdogan, who has sent all those extremists to fight me in Syria? Let's wait after the elections, if after the elections the opposition wins, then it's better. Then in front of my people, I'm not sitting with Erdogan, I'm sitting with opposition,
right,
who also have extended their hand to me. You understand? But Russia doesn't want the opposition. Russia wants Erdogan, because Erdogan is the only one who's standing with. And
so what's in Iran's interest? I mean, everyone says Iran is the big loser.
Yes, of course he's a big loser. But when they see that he started giving their positions, that they all those people, you remember, pro-Iranians during the Gaza and the war on Lebanon, a lot of Iranians were getting killed in Iranian commanders. If you remember the consulate where they attacked the consulate,
right?
And many other officers in the Mezzi area and other areas, pro-Hezbollah things. They knew that somebody is giving them those this information, And there was this lady who works with Bashar. Her name was Luna Shibel. And she was, of course, giving the information, but she couldn't have given the information because no intelligence services would give her that information if there were no orders from Bashar directly, So they found out that
he was betraying Iran.
Yes, he didn't want it because if you look at these documents from Reuters came out with this report 3 days ago that UAE and Israel had asked Biden to lift the sanctions on the 20th of December because the sanctions supposed to end on the 20th of December this month, So either he renews them, either they continue, or either he decides to lift them. So they were pushing, Israel and UAE were pushing Biden to lift the sanctions, on the condition that Bashar stays away from Iran. You understand? So he started, and now, after Bashar is gone, what did Iran say? Bashar lost because he went away from the axis.
What you're telling me isn't what's being reported.
Yes, of course. I mean, you have that because people don't know how to put the news together. They just want to, you read one article here, one article there, but, you need to put the links together.
So he was a disloyal ally.
Yes, because at the end of the day, Iran was not giving him anything, and Iran was asking him for money. So Bashar, the way he sees it, or the regime, is like, we've the whole world fought us, but we fought with the whole world because of Iran. If we weren't your allies, we wouldn't be the battleground for all these forces. You have a problem with all these countries, with the Gulf countries and with the US and everyone, and you decided to have your battleground in the past 13 years in Syria. And now you're coming and asking me for money, for the money that the Iranians were like, yeah, we support you, so we want you to give us this, we want you to give us that, we want you to give us this gas field, we want you to give us this, So he was like, this is not normal. What kind of ally are you, And also the poverty. Syria became the poorest country.
70% of Syrians live in poverty. Is that figure correct?
Yes, and even more because salaries. Now we're the poorest country in the world. The salaries are between $10 and $20.
So what happens now? I mean, are we in for a period of chaos?
Of course, I think it's going to be chaos unless the West, the Western countries start to see the game that's being played here between Iran and Turkey. At the end of the day, Iran is an expansionist regime that they want to go back to their Persian Empire. But Iran's capacity is very limited because Iran is trying to use the Shia Arabs, who are in Iraq mainly, very small in Syria, a presence in Syria and in Lebanon, to get exit to Mediterranean. So that's they only could move west. But Turkey's ambition is actually more dangerous because if you remember, Turkey not a long time ago was the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire they believe that it's from Mauritania to Western China. And so they agree. They're very close to each other, Iran and Turkey. They only differ on the question of Syria because it cuts. If Turkey needs to move south and Iran needs to move west, they cut their interest cut. They cut each other's in Syria. You know what I mean? So
they collide.
They collide in Syria, yeah. So, but at the end of the day, I think they found an understanding. They were able to find an understanding. But as I said, Iran will be the biggest loser, and Turkey will be the biggest winner. But Turkey is very dangerous because Turkey, using those Islamists, Turkey, how much is threatened Europe in the past with the refugees crisis, for example. You do this, or we send you some more refugees.
Is there going to be a new refugee crisis from Syria? Do you think
they could create a new refugees crisis? They could create a new jihadi crisis. So instead of also sending you refugees, they'll start sending you all these. Syria will become a jihadi land, right. Safe haven for all terrorists from all over the world. Could you imagine they control the state, a huge country?
So, I mean, the chances for democracy in Syria seem very slim.
They seem very slim if Western countries leave it to Erdogan. You know, if they think, oh, Erdogan is a NATO ally and a trustworthy ally, it would be terrible. You know, what would stop Erdogan tomorrow from moving into Lebanon? You tell me, what could stop, you know, like these people that went in?
What can the West do? I mean, Israel obviously is also a player.
Yes, but Israel for now, you know, you've seen how much they've been bombing in the past 2 days. Israel has taken more land. They've went
This
into
buffer zone.
Yeah, but huge buffer zones. You know, they said, okay, these are temporary. You know, as long as they believe there is a threat, they're not gonna get out. You know, they've been bombing. You know, I think 200 targets every day. You know, all those scientific. If they thought they were really genuine Democrats, why would they bomb all those sites, scientific sites, and arms depots and airports and whatever and helicopters? You know, because they know that you have the Taliban, you know, on steroids, you know, that are coming. You know,
they're going to fall into the hands of the wrong people. You're talking about the chemical supplies and the military supplies, etc.
Exactly. Yes.
But you say the West has to get involved, mustn't leave it to Erdogan. What options do they have?
Of course, the problem is you have President Trump. First, you have President Biden, who said, "Oh, we are considering of taking them off the list of terrorists yesterday." You know, and you're like, "What the hell?" It seems that he just wants to leave chaos for Trump to come and say, "Hey, good luck." You know, once you're here, fix what I've done, fix what you know the trouble that I've.
You fix it.
Yeah, you fix it now. But Trump on the other side, instead of reacting and say he's like, hey, what's Biden doing now? You know, he came out and said, you know what, we don't care about those people. You know, they're not our friends. This is what he said yesterday. You know, and again, what was shocking, he said those opposition fighters or you know something opposition fighters instead of saying those terrorists, because that same President Trump before he left in 2020, a few days before he left, he ordered the targeting of the leaders of the HTS. So he knows very well who they are, that they are a bunch of terrorists. You know?
So Trump's going to disengage.
Yeah, but we hope not, because it's sad for him. It's sad for all the Syrian people to say, what does it mean? Fight it out. And you are not you're our friends. Yes, the regime is not your friends. Yes, those terrorists are not your friends. But the Syrian people are your friends. You know, the minorities, the peaceful majority, they're all your friends. They all, when they rose up against the tyranny of Bashar Al-Assad, they were saying, we want democracy, and they were looking to go west. Have you seen any wave of refugees going to Afghanistan or Iran? Have you heard of any? And no. So obviously they don't want that system. All the refugees, they risk their lives going to the west. Why? Because that's the way of life that they want for themselves. Yeah. So if those people, if we know that this is how they want to live, why would we let them? Why should we let Syria, which is a strategic country on the Mediterranean, you know, with a beautiful mosaic of people, with all these minorities, you know, why should we let it to Turkey? You know, why should we leave it to Turkey? Why should we leave it to those terrorists?
But what options are there?
As I said, I think the West is here. Europe is here. Europe has the most to lose. They cannot say, oh, there's not much we can do. You know,
intervene militarily?
No. If there is an importance, if they see that there's an importance of danger for certain part of Syrian communities.
You're talking about the minorities now,
and even the peaceful majority, those who don't want to live under Islamist rule. I have many friends who are not a part of the minorities who called me yesterday and said, we don't want to live under those people. We want to drink, we want to dance, we want to, it's all part of Syrian culture. You know, Syrians from all sects, they drink, the arak and, theirs, and they dance, they party, they don't want some guy coming and now they have curfews. They called me yesterday, they're like, I don't want this guy with a beer telling me at what time I should go home, we have curfews now.
So Europe should rescue these people, this is what you're...
Of course, we should, and also prevent, because if, once the refugees are going to come, then Europe is going to be, it's costing us too much. Right. And there are problems, and we don't know who's jihadis. Okay, why don't, it's going to cost a lot less going there, making sure that those people are removed, those extremists are removed, telling Erdogan, listen, don't play these games. We're not sleeping. You're our ally, but we're not idiots. If we leave you, where you're gonna go. We've seen you in Libya, we've seen you in Azerbaijan, we've seen you in other countries, and we've seen the dreams that you have. We've seen when the Uyghurs went to, for example, in Thailand, to Thailand. He said, send them to Turkey. They're Turks. So he views all these regions as belonging to him, and that's again very dangerous. We should, of course, do something. For now, we should just put those people that are saying that they are Democrats, portraying themselves as Democrats, put pressure on them and tell them, okay, why don't you prove to us you're Democrats? You know, you, Mr. Giuliani, who went on CNN and said, we will protect minorities, you know. We should tell him, you know, if you're a genuine Democrat, you don't say we'll protect minorities because, you know, first of all, you're nobody to protect minorities. Minorities are not cattle, you know, they're not sheep to protect. The Constitution, the new Constitution will protect the minorities. The law will protect minorities. You know, once we have a new Constitution that will guarantee equality of all citizens under the rule of law, regardless of religion, sect, ethnic group, and gender, then we'll see if you're a genuine Democrat. Would you agree, Mr. Giuliani, on equality of woman and a man under the rule of law? Would you agree on equality of a Christian and Muslim under the rule of law? Would you agree of equality of Shia, Sunni, Alawite, Ismaili, Druze, and others under the rule of law? Arabs, Kurds, Turkmen, Armenians, Circassians, you know, do you agree to all of that? Then fine, you know, but definitely they're not going to agree. You know, if they are, but if we put pressure enough of them on them, they have to. If they know that the West is like, be careful. If you don't do that, then you're a terrorist. Then we're going to treat you like one. But not start saying we're going to consider lifting just because he did an interview on CNN paid by Qatar. I don't know, like Qatar did some PR campaign for him or something, you know, they made him cut his, you know, trim his beard a bit shorter.
He said things that the West liked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He was trained to say that. You know, but we should not be fooled. Hamas at one point said, you know, the West came out and said, they had democratic elections. You know, Hamas were elected democratically. Yeah, but they forgot the part where after throwing their opponents off the roof of the buildings, you know, they forgot that. They forgot the Taliban when they were moving on there. They said, oh, don't worry, we're going to keep things the way they are. Women are still going to go to school. As soon as they took power, women are not going to school.
I do remember that.
Yes.
Your colleagues are standing up because you have appointments at the European Parliament, and they're worried that you're going to be late. I'll just end with one question. It sounds as if you're not particularly optimistic about the immediate future of Syria. Anyway, I mean, could you go back and with the memories of your family, could you find support? Could you make a difference?
I have support, you know, and they know that I have support, and those people, as I told you since yesterday, many people have been, you know, like calling me from all over, telling me, you know, you were right. You were right, but what could we do? You know, the regime, your cousin was, you know, that was terrifying us. You know, if we put a like on your picture there, they would get threats. You know, really, I mean, I've been receiving, you know, and even people from my family, you know, from my extended family. And today they all like, what do we do? You were right. Bashar left us. That he's a traitor. He's a coward. You know, why didn't just make a speech before going and say, just I want to stop bloodshed after all these years. I want, to have a national reconciliation. I want to national. Yeah.
Is that even a possibility from what you've been saying? It sounds that
it was at one point a possibility. Yeah, but once he went too far, I think. But of course, and I've told this to many people, could he pull away from Iran? I'm like, what are you, stupid? You know, honestly, a lot of people, I say, how is he going to pull away from Iran? You know, if he tries, this is what's going to happen to him. Because he gave them everything, you know, like they've been there. He gave them all the things. They have their contacts. They have their things there. They've trained people there. You know, it's very difficult. You know, they hold all the keys they held all the keys, you know, in his regime. And the same thing as the Russians. So when you give the sovereignty of your country to other people, this is what's going to happen. You know, and it's of course very sad. I want to go back, and as I said, we have support, and we want Western support to make sure that we have a genuine representative democracy in Syria. We need to have a federal system in Syria, a constitution with a federal system. You know,
so you'll only go back with the support of the West. Is that you need the support of the West to go back?
Yes, well, of course we need the support of the West. You know, the peaceful majority, what are they going?
But that means military support as well. Huh?
I mean, if the others don't give, as I said, if by talk they don't give what they don't give up to what they're saying,
right.
Yeah, then of course, then that means they're lying.
Right.
That means today they're going house to house, picking up weapons, entering very gently, saying, "Oh, hi, sorry, do you have a weapon? Please give it to us." And they take it and they go. Okay, once they pick up all those weapons, and then they say, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. Who's going to fight?" They already picked up all the weapons, you know. Oh, you open your mouth, cut his head off. You know what I mean? So this is why it's very dangerous. You know, in 2 days in Latakia alone, they looted, because again that crazy cousins of ours. He told all the army to leave. He told everyone to leave their post. You know, he wanted to create chaos before he left. You know, in 2 days alone, people looted 40,000 AK-47s just in Latakia alone. Could you imagine how many other things in Aleppo and Hama and Homs and Daraa and Damascus, and, you know, could you imagine? So what are we, you know, what kind of country we're going to become? What kind of democratic country we're going to become?
Ribal Al-Assad, thank you very much. That was very enlightening.
Thank you very much, Cyril.